How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading while the price is going up or down. Real quick, even though the video just started, hit that subscribe. 75% of you are not subscribed, and smash that like. But one article for today: Bitcoin jumps above 37.7 as one of the most hawkish people have said there are some dovish possibilities. What that means is he's one of the most bearish people that say things are going to look bad typically, and I don't know what that was about, but usually he's more bearish than everyone else. So being dovish means he's bullish, saying that sentiment could improve. Recent data suggesting a slowdown in the economy and continuing moderation in inflation means that the US Federal Reserve policy is in the right spot, he says. This is Chris Waller. Taking questions after his prepared remarks, Waller also said that if inflation were to continue to decline, there's a good argument to be made that rate cuts could be made within a few months. So we could actually see interest rates go from 5.5 to 5.25 or even lower. So there is that possibility on the table. That is showing that the economy is moving in the way they want. Inflation is trying to get under control. We'll have to see if this can manage to sustain and if this remark can remain true. But he's usually more bearish, so it coming from someone more bearish tends to lean more bullishly for them. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. Just like everything else, no one has a crystal ball. Just because the bearish guy flipped bullish doesn't mean the market's going to go bullish all the time. We do still have this head and shoulders. We have a slight gap to the upside that we made with today's candle. RSI is coming down, stochastic's coming down, money flows in that bearish territory. That VWAP, that yellow, has broken into the bearish territory. So our yellow's bearish. That yellow, this yellow wave, is our medium term. That shows where the medium trend is going. Money flow is this green or red wave. That shows green is bullish, people are buying. Red is bearish, people are selling. Momentum is this big blue wave. So quick cap of how this oscillator works for anyone unfamiliar. The RSI is this red line, is heading down. Stochastic is this blue and orange line. If you want to learn how to read stochastic and RSI on their own, we do have some introduction playlists that will help get you acquainted. Also, if there's any questions you have, feel free to drop us a comment, hit the subscribe, like us, and join us in the Discord. If you hit that comment in the comments, or you ask us in the Discord, we'll get you an answer. Money flow is coming down, stochastic's coming down, RSI is coming down, VWAP's coming down, momentum is starting to roll bearish. So overall, the daily does look like we could continue this slide, but just be warned, we have slid for a few days. We have a gap to the upside. There would be a possibility for a bounce to fill this gap, and then possibly a rejection. That would give us a sustained push to the downside. Otherwise, if we keep seeing red, it's likely we're going to see a sharp correction back up. Over on our total, we are still within this wedge. We tried to break out. We could move this a little bit if you want. It is still within those wicks, that wick. So it's still within our pattern. This wedge could still push us down. It would push us to the green EMA if we saw a breakdown soon in the next couple candles. RSI is coming down, that's our red line. Stochastic's coming down, that's this double line. It is pretty flat, so if the stochastic does not push above this 30, it's going to get bearish momentum, meaning it's going to head down, which will result in the RSI starting to weaken as well. Momentum is starting to roll away. That's our big blue wave. It is starting to come down. We're getting lower highs as price action's trying to continue up. If this continues, we can make a bearish divergence where price gets higher highs and our oscillator gets lower highs. Stochastic is in the same predicament. Money flow does want to come down. It is in the bullish territory, so remember, if this money flow is green, the trend is bullish, and we do still have possibility to continue up, even if we've been selling off for a couple days. VWAP does want to push forward. It wants to break through that neutral to the bullish side. It's getting higher lows, so we'll have to see if that can help push price action to the upside. If that VWAP can cross here, that money flow is likely going to sustain bullish momentum. However, if our VWAP makes a rejection here or gets lower highs, we could see price action start to trend down and see this pattern play out, so keep a close eye on that VWAP. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we did try to gap out of our flag, but we're trying to snap back in it today. So that's kind of show that all gaps tend to fill. Remember, we cover gaps pretty often. That's because they have an 80% probability to fill on their own. So you see a gap to the upside and you drop down, that means price action's probably going to go back up. So if we had a gap back here and price made a move down, it would be very likely for this pushback up to fill that gap. Now, that being said, that means since we have this gap to the downside, it's very likely we could see dominance slip, fill this gap, and hopefully make a bounce off that zone for dominance to continue forward. But just remember, all that means is people are trading altcoins or stable coins for Bitcoin. Our stochastic does want to push forward. RSI does want to start to round away. So our stochastic's starting to make a little bit of bearish divergence here with lower highs. Keep an eye on that. Momentum does want to roll away. Money flow is in the bullish territory. It is in a decent bullish trend with higher highs and higher lows. But our VWAP is starting to roll away. If the VWAP continues to roll away here, it's very likely the bears could get some control and the bulls will start to get exhausted. Over on Bitcoin futures, we did get a really good move to the upside like we did suggest. There was that gap that we did cover. Some people were trying to comment saying we're going to snap right out. Guess what? We went right up to resistance. RSI is coming out. Momentum wants to roll away. Stochastic wants to come down. VWAP wants to roll over. Our money flow wants to roll over. That VWAP has lower highs with lower lows currently. So if it breaks this neutral, pushes into that bearish territory, we're likely going to see momentum roll over and our money flow will follow. If this money flow flips from green to red, that shows that the bears have control and we could see a sustained push to the downside. If that were to happen, we could push to this gap, fill this gapped area. If we are not able to hold within this gapped area, remember we have gaps to the downside, right around this 31.5, and again at 29.8, and then again around that 20k, which would be our like doomsday scenario. RSI wants to roll over, momentum wants to roll over, stochastic's coming out, and our other indicators look weak. If we look at the 2 hour, we had a gap on the 1 hour, so that's why I'm flipping to the 2 hour. We can kind of see that's that gap that we filled. We had a gap here, we did come back down, filled that gap, and then made our bounce back up. Why these gaps are important? They fill 80% of the time, and we have another one right here. We could see a bounce, try to fill this gap around this 38.6. If we do not take off from that 38.6 level, that is likely going to be our point of resistance, which would push us down. However, keep in mind, this gap could stay open as well for quite some time, which would allow us to snap back up in the future. Stochastic does want to overall round away and push down. RSI is coming down. Momentum is rolling away with a red dot. VWAP is breaking into that bearish territory. Money flow wants to roll over. So we are in jeopardy of seeing a bearish trend form here if we do not get a push to the upside. Again, we're going to need to break past that gap to see sustained bullish momentum. Real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe. Again, only 75% of you are subscribed, so more of you should subscribe, especially if you want to see our videos every day. We've been making call after call every week. You'd see that if you were in the Discord, as we'll give an update like the hourly on Bitcoin. We said we could make a bounce here. We made a bounce, so if you would take in a position there, you could have made some profits. Not financial advice, as always, but there is that opportunity, and it's all for free. RSI is overall coming down. Momentum's overall pushing away. The RSI is the red, remember, momentums are blue wave. Stochastic does want to push forward and give our RSI strength, that is the double line. If that can sustain above this 30, our RSI will sustain bullish momentum. However, if the stochastic breaks this 30 level and pushes down, that RSI is going to follow. VWAP is starting to struggle with lower highs currently, so if it rolls over and pushes into the bearish territory, the bears could snap us back down and this pattern could play out. Remember, a snap from right around here could still take us below that green Fibonacci level at that 36K. Over on the 4 hour, we are starting to curl away. We do have that push that pushed us up. We have a bear flag we broke down from. We made a bounce and we are continuing forward from that bounce, but we're starting to meet resistance and come back down. Our stochastic wants to make a bullish cross and push forward, so our RSI may get some push forward if our lower time frames can sustain bullish momentum. Our money flow is starting to inch its way out though. VWAP is starting to continue down and our momentum does want to roll over here, so I would watch out. If the lower time frames show more bearish potential, then we could see that 4 hour break bearishly. Over on the 2 hour, this would be some sort of a slanted double bottom that took us up. Stochastic is pushing out, RSI is coming down, our momentum does want to roll away with a double red dot as our VWAP is breaking into that bearish territory. Remember, the VWAP's a yellow wave. If that VWAP sustains bearish momentum and starts to favor the bearish territory, then this money flow is going to continue out and break this neutral, at which point the bears could resume control and we could see this rising channel break us down as they typically do. Remember, rising channels are where you get a pretty straight price action up in one straight shot. That's why it's a channel. And remember, this rising channel is within another rising channel. So over on the 2 hour, stochastic is rolling away, double red dot, money flow is coming out, VWAP wants to break bearish, 2 hours looking a little iffy here. The 1 hour, we are in bearish momentum. It has been bearish for some time, so if we are not able to dig back into the bullish territory, we may see this start to lead into the 2 hour, we get that 1 hour, 2 hour confirmation, and then if it led into the 4 hour, we could see a very strong move to the downside from there. Our stochastic does want to push out, RSI is overall starting to drag down, momentum is starting to push away with a red dot as our VWAP is sustaining bearish momentum and our money flow is struggling to break through that neutral. If our money flow does not break through this neutral and our VWAP continues to favor this bearish territory or starts to zigzag around with favorable action toward the bearish territory, it's very likely our 2 hour is going to weaken from here. Over on graph, we have that flag that we did get our full breakdown from, so I'm going to delete that. If you were able to gain kind of a short, good job on that. But just remember, we do still have this gap to the downside because we did not hold in it on the daily. I would still say it's a very real possibility. Usually candle wicks act like gaps. You come down or up to fill them. So we have a gap and multiple wicks, so that does show we do still have some potential to get a drop. However, we are right at the top of this candle wick too, so it is possible if we do make a bounce here that we will not drag a little bit lower to right around that 14, let's see, just had it 14 and a half about. If we do not drag to that 14 and a half and we bounce off here, then this would be a decent enough fill for the gap. It just wouldn't be complete and we do still have wicks we could fill. Stochastic does want to round away. Momentum is rounding off with a double red dot as that VWAP has fallen into that bearish territory. If the VWAP starts to favor bearish territory here, the daily would be in jeopardy of seeing that double top play out. Momentum does want to round off and our money flows overall coming out as our VWAP is starting to weaken. So keep a close eye on that VWAP and the money flow and remember their relation. Over on the 4 hour, we are in a bit of a down channel. So if we drew that out real quick, a down channel is the opposite of a rising channel where you get lows and highs. Or actually, that's a descending wedge. Either way, a descending wedge is a bullish pattern too. I'm going to take Ray Bow in half. That gives you a little less than the full move, but I don't always go for the full move, as you know. This rising wedge could give us some momentum to push back up, try to hit that 15.5 area, maybe 15 even, and then possibly see a rejection from there. Our stochastic does want to round away. RSI does want to come down, but if the stochastic stays above the 30, this RSI does have the potential to continue forward. Money flow's overall pushing down, but it's trying to push away from that gap. If our money flow keeps away from that neutral and keeps in the bullish territory, we may see another push to the upside. Our VWAP does want to push forward. It is meeting resistance at this 11. It's struggling to get past this 11, and every time we got in here, we have rejected, so keep that in mind. But we do have a green candle this time. The other times, we were followed by red candles, so this time's a little bit different. Over on the 2 hour, we are starting that rejection. We did try to come back up, push back down, and we are trying to come up again. If we are not able to break through in the next couple candles, it would be very likely we would push out, and there would be a possibility to see this pattern get invalidated. As remember, this double tops a bigger time frame pattern that could play out. As stochastic does want to round away, it is trying to lose some steam, but it's holding its ground, so the RSI is able to continue forward for now. Our VWAP does want to round away. It's about to break into the bearish territory on this 2 hour, and our money flow is in the bearish territory. If that VWAP pushes into the bearish territory, that momentum's going to round over. If the momentum, VWAP, and money flow are all in the bearish territory on this 2 hour, it would be likely that the 4 hour would start to decline as well. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is overall pushing away. RSI is trending out, momentum is rounding away with the red dot, and our money flow is in the bearish territory. That VWAP is getting a rejection from that neutral, so overall we are seeing a rejection of a bullish cross, and we may see some bearish action pick up from here. Again, real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like and hit the subscribe, because not many of you have subscribed and not many of you have liked. Over on this money flow, we are getting a confirmed rejection. We have that double manipulation X. We are trying to see a little bit of price action up with this indecision candle, but tomorrow is opening with a red candle. If we continue with this red candle and break this red EMA, it's very likely our other EMA levels will roll over and continue back down. RSI is overall pushing away, stochastic is overall rounding away, money flow is coming down. If this stochastic continues under that 30, our RSI is likely going to weaken. VWAP is getting higher lows. If it comes up and gets a higher high, we could see a bullish trend on our VWAP, which could try to push us back to that value area low. However, if this VWAP starts to reject away from here, then the bears will remain in control and we will not retest that value area low. Momentum is in the bearish territory, VWAP's favoring bearish territory, so I would just keep an eye on that, as that does have the potential to bring us down. Over on the 4 hour, again, if there's any meme coins or any kind of altcoin you guys would like a one-off kind of thing, drop a comment as well. Utilize those comments, guys. Leave some sort of comment. If you want something different, you want something added once in a while, we can help make it happen. And also join that Discord. That's where we give our community feedback and we can grow together. Stochastic wants to round off here on the 4 hour. We are overall pushing down. RSI is trying to keep going forward, as that stochastic does have bullish momentum. But if it rounds off, the stochastic starts to round off, then that RSI would be in jeopardy of doing the same. VWAP is starting to round away. Money flow is rejecting across to the bullish side with lower highs, so if it comes down and makes lower lows, we would have a bearish trend starting on our 4 hour. Momentum does want to round away, so if that VWAP rejects this neutral and pushes down, that momentum's likely going to continue back down as well. Over on the 2 hour, we are seeing a pretty decent rollover here after retracing some of these quick losses. That's why I said you want to see more of a steady decline or a steady rise. You don't want just one straight shot. You don't want a moonshot, because then you're just going to crash back to earth. Stochastic does want to come down, RSI wants to roll away, momentum wants to roll away with the red dot, our VWAP wants to break bearish, money flow is rejecting lower highs, so if it breaks this neutral and makes lower lows, we would have a bearish trend here as well. I would keep close attention to this 2 hour. If this money flow makes a bounce, the 4 hour could be saved. However, if our money flow pushes into the bearish territory, the 4 hour is likely going to roll over as well and push us even lower. Over on the 1 hour, we are rolling away. Stochastic is overall rolling away as well. RSI is coming down. Momentum is rolling away. VWAP has broken into that bearish territory. Money flow is in the bearish territory, sustaining bearish momentum. If that VWAP continues to zigzag and starts to favor the bearish territory, this money flow could roll over and we could see another leg to the downside if we're not careful. Again, our next support level would be that 21.1, which is our other value area low for our bigger volume profile. Again, these volume profiles map out your supports and resistance. You have your value area low, your point of control, and your value area high. This is your highest point, your lowest point, and kind of your in-between. You typically take shorts up here, longs here, and you watch where it's going to go here. That's typically the way some people use them, not financial advice. Over on XRP for the daily, we got a little bit of a battle on our hands as we had this descending triangle, and you could call it invalidated, or you could call this a retest. If you call it a retest, it would be still valid. If you call it invalidated, we have a descending channel. Going to change this line color, we'll choose blue. This purple to our blue would be our descending channel, which descending channels are rising patterns, but just be warned that with the way this one looks, if we stretch this out, we only have 2 touches right now. Typically you get 3 or more. So we got 1, we'll call that 1, hopefully 2. Estimate the distance if I quit dragging lines around. I put this down here, so we may break these resistances, push our point of control, and hopefully that's where we would get bounced. That would also be in confluence with that symmetrical triangle breakdown. RSI is overall iffy. Stochastic does want to push forward as it is gaining some momentum with a bullish cross that would be able to push our RSI back up and give our RSI more strength. Money flow is in the bullish territory, bouncing off this neutral. It's kind of sustaining some weak pressure though. It's only at 6 and it's not really getting much higher. So if it's not able to break through the 6, we may see it roll over overall. Our momentum is starting to come down. VWAP is starting to struggle. If this VWAP rolls over, pushes under that neutral, we're going to see this money flow break bearish, at which point we're going to see lower price action. But don't be full of dread, as remember, if we stay within this descending channel, we do have the possibility to break back up, which would put us about even with where we are today. Over on the 4 hour, you can kind of see that moving everything around today. You can see that we did get a few breaks and then we keep snapping. That's why I said that maybe that descending triangle may be invalidated. It's a descending triangle because you have lower highs on price action with a consistent flat line of support. We have some support back here, candles here, candles here, candles here, candles here. So it's a very strong area of support. Over on the 4 hour, the stochastic is continuing forward. RSI is kind of tapering off though. So if the stochastic does round away, this RSI could take a nosedive. But if the stochastic remains high here, that RSI does have the potential to continue forward, at which point we may try to break out of this channel early. VWAP is starting to round away. Money flow is a little iffy. We are in the bullish territory. but I would just exercise caution. Momentum does want to continue forward, but with the VWAP coming down, it does have the possibility to round away on us. Over on the 2 hour here, the stochastic is starting a little bit of a split. If the split gets bigger, we could see a spill over to the bearish side. RSI is starting to slide, momentum starting to slide with a red dot. VWAP is breaking into that bearish territory after getting a new high on VWAP, but lower highs on price. Our money flow is overall getting lower highs. It did kind of break into that bearish territory, so it's flirting with bearish momentum. If this VWAP breaks bearish, the money flow is likely going to follow it, as that momentum has a red dot and the momentum wants to roll over. So I would watch the next few candles and the 1 hour very closely. The 1 hour does have a reversal arrow here after we made a run up. So a reverse of a run up is a push to the downside, so just watch out for that. Momentum does have bearish divergence. Stochastic is pushing down. Stochastic has bearish divergence and pushing down. Our momentum is rolling away with the double red dot as that VWAP broke into that bearish territory, and our money flow is struggling to cross that bullish territory. If our money flow cannot break bullish here, it's very likely we will see a push to the downside. The 1 hour will become more bearish, and we could see that confluence, the 1 hour, 2 hour, and that 4 hour. So the 4 hour and 2 hour are on the verge of flipping, so if this 1 hour continues to drag, they could flip into the bearish territory, so just keep a watchful eye for that. Again, real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us in the Discord. Again, only about 75% of you are subscribed. Algo on the daily is in a goofy spot, so we could draw a symmetrical triangle here. It is a symmetrical triangle because we have similar highs and lows. We have higher highs with higher lows with lower highs. These higher lows with lower highs make your symmetrical triangle. That would be assuming this is a freak breakout. You will get those once in a while. Now, a symmetrical triangle that's just off a straight side channel would just be a 50-50 upside downside, where you take your move, go from the top to the middle. That'd be your half move, and you'd apply that to your upside and your downside, and that'd give you your break. However, this one is a bull pendant. Bull pendant is where you get a rise up, make a symmetrical triangle or a bull flag, and then you can continue up. So that would be some pretty decent gains for us. Our downside potential is to hit the value area high of our volume profile, at which point we could continue back down. However, with this high point, we could come back up to around that 19-cent zone, which we broke from quite some time ago. And that could actually give us that cup and handle that I believe we did mention possibly a week or two ago when we were down here. We mentioned if we continued to come up, kind of rejected around this area, that could act as a neckline. If this does act as a neckline and that is a cup and handle, that would be a pretty good move for us as well, because that could take you just a little bit above it, so not too much more, but it would be more bullish momentum for us. Over on the 4 hour here, we are starting some sideways action. We have that manipulation X that brought us down. We are trying to continue up. As you see, we're kind of chopping sideways, going pretty flat overall. Stochastic does want to round away. RSI wants to taper off. Our VWAP is losing some steam, and the money flow is starting to favor bearish momentum. If this money flow stays in this bearish territory, it's very likely the break will be to the downside, and we could see a retest of around this 12-cent area. Momentum does want to round, as that VWAP does want to come down. So if this VWAP breaks bearish, we are likely going to see a snap down sooner rather than later, possibly somewhere around there. Over on our 2 hour, we are rounding away pretty violently. Stochastic wants to make a strong split, RSI wants to come down, momentum has a red dot, and our momentum is rounding off as our VWAP is breaking into that bearish territory, and the money flow is starting to flip bearish as well. So if this 2 hour sustains bearish momentum, it's very likely that 4 hour is going to weaken and push down as well. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is pushing down very quickly. Our RSI is starting to slide, momentum wants to roll away. That VWAP is in the bearish territory, getting lower lows with lower highs, so we have a bearish trend here, and our money flow is sustaining bearish momentum. If we stay within this area and our VWAP continues to zigzag and favor the bearish territory slightly more than bullish, it's very likely the 2 and 4 hour will give us that 1, 2, and 4 hour confirmation to the downside of our trend reversal to break us down, at which point we could see lower than that 12 cent area. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.